welcome. You're watching Next IAS English. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, which is COP 30 2025, and in this topic we are going to cover India's role, global stakes and climate diplomacy. So stay tuned with us because this video is going to be very informative for you. Moving forward, so the first thing that we are going to discuss is the context. COP 30, the 30th conference of parties, has begun in Belém, Brazil, in the heart of Amazon rainforest. Now, it runs from November 10th to 21st November 2025, and the theme of this whole summit will be delivering on the Paris Promise. And now, why the Paris Promise? Because it has been exactly 10 years since the Paris Agreement, and India's delegation this time will be led by our Union Environment Minister, Mr. Bhupender Yadav, and during the second week of the COP, which will be 17th to 21st November. Prime Minister Modi, however, is expected to skip this conference again this year, just like COP 29. India's ambassador to Brazil will represent us at the Leaders Summit hosted earlier by President Lula da Silva and the UN Chief Antonio. Moving forward, let's talk about what exactly is COP. So, COP stands for Conference of the Parties under unfccc, which was signed in 1992. Now, this was signed at Rio. It was signed at Rio, and it's the world's biggest annual platform on climate action, where countries negotiate how to reduce emissions, adapt to impacts, and most importantly, discuss climate finances. Now, how the money which is needed to support these transitions, where will it come from and how much will it be required? Moving forward, why COP 30 matters. Now, let's talk about why COP 30 is special. See, COP 30 is a 10-year checkpoint since the Paris Climate Agreement, which happened in 2015, and Paris promised to limit global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius at preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, UN warning says that 1.5 degrees Celsius overshoot likely, and even worse, only about a third of countries have updated their emission cut targets, or NDCs. So, COP 30 is seen as a moment of accountability, a reality check for the countries. Moving forward, let's talk about India's presence at COP 30. We have already discussed who will be leading, then we are going to talk about it again. So, India this year, Environment Minister Bhupender Yadav sir will lead India's delegation, and this will happen in the second week of COP 30, which I've already mentioned, 17th to 21st November. Prime Minister Modi is likely to skip again, just like last year COP 29 in Baku, where India didn't even set up a pavilion due to election commitments. But this time, India's ambassador to Brazil will represent us at the Leaders Summit, and last year, COP 29 Baku, India had no pavilion. I've already mentioned this. Now, Brazil, our ambassador will be attending the Leaders Summit in the first half. Now, moving forward, let's talk about India's stand and message. What is India's stand and the message for COP 30? So, COP 30 is of adaptation, says the Environment Minister. Time to move from promises to practical action on climate resilience. India is expected to underline that developed countries must restore trust by honoring their financial commitments and also offering grant-based predictable funding for adaptation and loss and damage as well. The message is, the message is clear that developing nations are doing their part, but we need fair support from it. Moving forward, let's talk about the Baku-to-Belém Roadmap 2025. Now, one of the biggest ideas at COP 30 is the Baku-to-Belém Roadmap, launched to mobilize $1.3 trillion annually by 2035 for climate finance. It uses what's called the 5R framework. Let's understand what is the 5R framework first. So, 5R framework, it means replenishing, which is grants and concessional funds. then rebalancing fiscal space and debt relief, then rechanneling, which is private finance, then revamping the capacity building, and lastly reshaping fair financial systems so that everything is structured. Moving forward, let's talk about the Brazil's key initiatives. Now let's talk about what are the Brazil's key initiatives. Brazil is expected to announce a landmark initiative, the Tropical Forest Forever Facility. This is a landmark initiative by Brazil for about $125 billion over the next decade. The idea is to reward nations that protect tropical forests instead of cutting them down. It's a result-based fund. You preserve and you get paid. More importantly, 20% of the fund will directly support indigenous communities and more than 70 developing countries are eligible for this one. So this is one of the most concrete examples of climate finance tied to conservation. Moving forward, let's talk about the India's climate action so far. Now, what have been the India's climate action so far? Let's talk about that. See, 40% of power from non-fossil sources. This is what India has done. The target is 500 gigawatt renewable by 2030. Initiatives like the LIFE mission, ISA, National Hydrogen Mission have been implemented, and see this goal 500 gigawatt of renewable by 2030. We have launched flagship initiatives like International Solar Alliance, the LIFE mission as I was talking about, and the National Hydrogen Mission itself. India supports a phase down of coal, not a complete phase out, given our energy needs. It is very crucial, and we also continue to demand a fair share of global climate finance for the global south. See, that's the last point. Moving forward, let's talk about key challenges. Now, there will be challenges, of course. So let's talk about the challenges. The challenges remain significant. The north-south divide continues. Developing countries are asking, where's the promised $100 billion? And climate finance is like that, you know. Climate finance delivery is slow, greenwashing is rampant, and fossil fuel lobbies still influence negotiations. Moreover, political unity is lacking. Several major emitters have sealed back climate commitments. This somehow reflects how there are challenges and the ongoing tensions between ambition and implementation. So there's a gap between it, and which we need to bridge up. Moving forward, let's talk about India's broader message. We've already talked about India's message. Let's understand it in a broader aspect. The broader message, this is COP is rooted in climate justice. Environment Minister's statement says, leave no one behind, captures it perfectly. Yeah, leave no one behind, captures it perfectly. India wants an inclusive, technology-driven transition that ensures equity and fairness. We, moreover, emphasize technology faster, capacity building, and global South solidarity to make sure climate action doesn't deepen inequality. Moving forward, let's talk about the next slide, which is quick facts for prelims. Now, here are some quick facts for prelims that you need to understand, you need to keep in mind, and remember, the host of COP 30 is Belém, Brazil. India will be led by Mr. Bhupender Yadav. He is the Union Environment Minister. The finance goal is $1.3 trillion by 2035. Again, a very important fact. Then Baku-to-Belém Roadmap is very important. Brazil initiative is $125 billion forest facility. Again, a very important point. Then lastly, Paris Agreement COP21 was signed in 2015. So these are the important facts that you need to keep in mind for prelims. And now we will talk a little about mains. Now, which are the expected questions for mains? Let's talk about that. Now, for mains, questions could be analytical. For instance, the questions can be about COP of Adaptation, what that means, why COP 30 is being called the COP of Adaptation, or discuss India's evolving climate diplomacy with examples from COP 30. Yeah, so you need to understand these 4-5 pointers from this topic, which are India's role and message at the COP30, the Baku-Belém Roadmap, again very important one, and tropical forest forever facility. We have already talked about what Brazil is doing in this, and then COP of Adaptation, what it means, and why is it being related to COP30. Moving forward, let's talk about a quick question. Now, the quick question MCQ is, the Baku-to-Belém Roadmap aims to mobilize what amount? Now, what is the amount that the Baku-to-Belém Roadmap aims to mobilize? We've already discussed this in the video. Your options are $300 billion, $1.3 trillion, $500 billion or $2 trillion. Do tell us in the comment section below. Those who will answer it correctly, we are going to reply, and we are also going to pin the first comment. So do share what you think and how attentively you were listening to the video. Yeah, that is it for today. So we have already covered different dimensions of the topic. We've talked about what COP30 means, why COP30 is very important, what is actually COP, and why it is relevant for India and for your examinations as well. So that is it for today. I will see you in another deep dive video. Until then, bye-bye. Take care.